There is a cheap tin clock on my workshop bench, and I have turned down good money for it more than once. It runs 4 minutes slow, and I have never fixed it, which is a strange thing for a watchmaker to admit. But it sat on the floor of the one room my wife and I shared when we had nothing, and it has outlasted every costly thing I bought after. My name is Henry. I am 75 years old, and I'm going to tell you the thing I have never said out loud. The poorest years of my life were the best ones I ever had. The poorest years of my life were the best ones I ever had. And I do not mean that the way people usually say it, all soft and misty, like a thing you put on a card. I mean it plainly, the way I would tell you a clock is broken. The years when I had almost nothing were the years I felt the most alive, and the years when I finally had something were quieter and emptier in a way I could never explain to anyone. I have spent a long time trying to understand why. I think I finally do. So let me walk you through it the way I lived it. The first room my wife and I rented was above a butcher's shop on a street called Renshaw. It was one room, not one bedroom, one room, with a sink in the corner and a bathroom we shared with 2 other families down the hall. 2, or it might have been 3 near the end, people came and went. In the summer, the whole place smelled of the shop below, and in the winter, the single window let the cold in around the edges, no matter how much newspaper I stuffed in the gaps. We had a bed, a table with 2 chairs that did not match, and that little tin alarm clock on the floor. Our rent was $11 a month, and some months even that was a stretch. And I will tell you the truth, I have lived in far better houses since, but I have never slept better than I slept in that one room. We were 23 years old. I made watches and clocks tick for a living, and brought home barely enough to cover the $11 and the food. My wife took in sewing, and every single night, with almost nothing to our name, we lay in that bed, listening to the trolley go past, and we made plans. Plans for the house we would have, the garden, the children. We had nothing, so all we owned was what was coming. Your whole life still ahead of you, unspent. I did not know to be grateful for that at the time. On Friday nights we had a thing we did. I would stop on the way home and buy a small bag of chips from the shop on the corner, just one bag, and we would split it. That was the treat for the whole week. One shared bag of hot chips, eaten out of the newspaper, sitting on the steps if it was warm, on the bed if it was not. And I am telling you, an honest man telling you a true thing, that I have since eaten in restaurants where the bill came to more than that whole room cost for a month, and I cannot remember a single bite of those dinners. But I can still taste those Friday chips. I can still feel her shoulder against mine on those steps. Still feel it. Some things your body just keeps. We did not have a television for the first 6 years. What we had was a second-hand radio I bought off a man for $2 because it had a cracked case and a hum. I took it apart on our one table, the same way I took apart watches, and I found a loose wire and I fixed it. And that radio played for us nearly 20 years after. 18, 20, a long time anyway. In the evenings we would turn it on low, and she would sew and I would read. And sometimes a song would come on that we both liked, and I would get up and we would dance. In one room. There was no proper room to dance in, mind you, so we shuffled around the table. And the second night we ever tried it, I cracked my shin clean on the corner of that table and hopped about the place swearing like a sailor, while she laughed so hard she had to sit down on the bed. Every dance after that, she would steer me wide of that corner with one hand on my back, the way you steer a child. The whole shape of our dancing was built around dodging a table leg, and I would give a great deal to be hurting my shin in that room tonight. We danced more in that little room than we ever did in all the years after, when we finally had a proper front room with space for it. I cannot tell you why. We had the room later. We just stopped. Now let me tell you about the later years, because this is where the thing turns, and it turns so slowly you never feel it happening. The shop did well, slowly, then steadily. By my 40s, I had my own place on the high street, 2 men working under me, and we moved out of rooms and into a real house with a garden and a gate. And I want to be careful here, because I am not going to stand in front of you and pretend it was all hollow. It was not. There was good in it. But I started to notice something, and once I noticed it, I could not stop noticing it. The more we had, the more there was to tend. The house needed painting, then the roof, then the boiler went. The car needed servicing, and then a second car so she could get about, and that one needed servicing too. There was insurance on the house and insurance on the cars, and a taxman who took an interest in me he never took when I was poor. Funny how that goes. Every new thing I bought to make life easier turned out to have a small, invisible string on it, and that string led straight back to more hours at the bench. I was working harder at 50 with money in the bank than I ever worked at 23 with $11 to my name, and I could not have told you what for. The Friday chips became dinners out, and the dinners out we ate quickly, both of us tired, often not really talking, because there was always something waiting at home that needed seeing to. The little radio went up into the loft, and a big television came down into the front room, and we would sit in front of it in 2 separate armchairs, not one shared bed, and the evening would pass, and we would not have said much at all. Slowly, without either of us deciding it, the things we owned started taking the place of the things we used to do. The house was full, and the evenings were empty. Full and empty, both at once. I do not know how else to put it. And here is the part I am most ashamed of. There was a stretch in my 50s when my wife was not well. Nothing serious yet, but tired, run down, asking me to slow up, asking me, could we not go back to the simple way of doing things? And I told her, not unkindly, but I told her that I could not just then, that there was too much on, too much to keep up. The house, the shop, the lot of it. I had built a life so heavy that I could no longer put it down long enough to sit with the one person I had built it for. And the strange thing is, I do not even remember what was so urgent. I have tried. Some account, some part for a customer, some appointment. Whatever it was, it is gone now. And she is gone now. And I could not tell you to this day what I chose over her that afternoon. She is gone now. 11 years this autumn. And I would give back every good thing I ever bought, the house, the cars, the lot of it, for one more Friday on those steps, with a bag of chips between us, and nothing in the bank, and nothing on my mind but her. So when I tell you the poor years were the best years, I am not being sentimental about being broke. There is nothing romantic about counting coins to make the rent, and I would not wish real want on anyone. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is harder than that, and I have turned it over for years to be sure I have it right. When we had nothing, every small thing we did have, we actually used. The one radio we listened to. The 2 chairs we sat in, facing each other. The 1 bag of chips we tasted. There was so little that nothing could hide in the pile, and that included our evenings, and that included each other. Then the money came, and with the money came the volume of things, and somewhere in all that volume the small good moments got buried. You cannot taste 1 bag of chips when you eat out 4 nights a week. You cannot treasure 1 song on the radio when the television runs every evening. When you finally have plenty of everything, nothing is a treat anymore. That is the part nobody warns you about. I work in time, so let me put it in time. When I was poor, my days were long and full and slow, and I remember nearly all of them. When I was comfortable, the years ran through my fingers like sand, and whole stretches of them I cannot account for at all. I was paying attention back then. Later, I was just too busy. And a life, when you tot it up at the end, is only worth the moments you are actually awake for. That dented tin clock still runs slow, 4 minutes a week. And for years I told myself I would get round to fixing it. I never have, and now I never will, because I understand at last what it is for. It does not keep time. It keeps her. It keeps that room. It is the cheapest thing I own, and it is the only one I would run back into a burning house for. If something in this settled on you, do an old man a kindness and send it to someone who is in the heavy middle of it right now, working themselves thin to fill a house the way I did. They may not be able to hear it from anyone but a stranger. And then tell me, down in the comments, one thing. Not the most expensive thing you own. Tell me the cheapest thing you would never sell, and who it reminds you of. I will read every one. So tonight, wind your clocks, then go and sit in the room where someone you love is. That dented tin clock taught me late what counts. The cheapest hour spent awake beside them is the only one worth keeping. I will see you soon.